During the Gilded Age, America's newspaper tycoons didn't just shape public opinion, they built castles to match their empires, and the owner of the New York Tribune was no exception. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. Whitelaw Reid's story is a classic rags to riches story. Born in 1837 on a farm near Xenia, Ohio, Reid grew up in modest circumstances. Despite his humble beginnings, he was a bright student and graduated with honors from Miami University in 1856. His early career coincided with the tumultuous years of the American Civil War. Eager to make his mark, he became a war correspondent for the Cincinnati Gazette, reporting from battlefields like Shiloh and Gettysburg. His vivid dispatches from the front were celebrated for their clarity and courage, establishing his reputation as a talented journalist and storyteller who wasn't afraid to be caught in the crosshairs. After the war, Reid authored a well-received historical work titled Ohio in the War, which further cemented his status as an up-and-coming writer. His reporting prowess didn't go unnoticed. In 1868, the legendary newspaperman Horace Greeley hired Whitelaw Reid to join the staff of the New York Tribune, one of the nation's leading newspapers. Reid quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a managing editor within a year. When Greeley passed away in 1872, Reid seized the opportunity of a lifetime. He purchased the Tribune and took over as editor-in-chief. Under his stewardship, the New York Tribune thrived and remained hugely influential in American politics and society. He modernized the paper by investing in cutting-edge printing technology and maintained the Tribune as a staunch partisan voice. By the 1880s, Reid had become a prominent figure in the media world, a publisher with a national voice, and this prominence soon opened doors to public service. He was appointed U.S. Minister to France in 1889, serving with distinction in Paris until 1892. That same year, Reid's political stature led the Republican Party to nominate him for Vice President of the United States, running alongside President Benjamin Harrison, though that ticket ultimately lost the 1892 election. While his career brought him wealth and fame, another factor in his rise was his marriage into one of America's greatest fortunes. In 1881, he married Bessie Mills, the daughter of financier Darius Ogden Mills. The Mills family wealth was immense. Darius was a founder of the Bank of California and one of the richest men of his era. The marriage not only united two prominent families, but also bolstered Whitelaw Reid's financial resources significantly. With a combination of his own success and his wife's inheritance, Reid had the means to live lavishly. The couple became well known in New York society for their glittering social events. They hosted lavish musicales and gatherings at their Manhattan residence on Madison Avenue and 50th Street, which was actually part of the Villard houses. Despite being connected to his neighbors' homes, he had thousands of square feet of sumptuous interiors, which had been designed by the famed Gilded Age architect Stanford White. From gilded salons to wood-clad libraries and great halls with soaring fireplaces, it rivaled any interiors found in the mansions of Fifth Avenue's elite. By the late 1880s, Whitelaw Reid stood as the pinnacle of influence, a celebrated newspaper publisher, a former diplomat, and an insider in elite society. It was the perfect time for him to establish a country estate befitting his stature, and so began the story of his famed castle in the suburbs of New York. In 1888, Mr. and Mrs. Reid set their sights on a grand estate in Westchester County named Ophir Farm, an 84-room mansion built by the Holliday family. Just weeks after the Reids moved into the renovated house, a devastating fire broke out and gutted the mansion. The blaze, reportedly caused by an electrical short circuit, reduced the grand manor to smoldering ruins. For most people, such calamity might have spelled the end of their country house dreams, but the Reids were undeterred. They resolved to build anew, this time creating a residence truly reflective of their tastes and experiences. The Reids enlisted some of the era's most illustrious designers to rebuild on the old mansion's footprint. The new house, completed in 1892, was a massive gray granite edifice in the Renaissance Revival style, so imposing and castle-like that it earned the nickname Reid Castle. The architect of record was the famed Stanford White of McKim Mead & White, the same architectural firm renowned for projects like the Boston Public Library and later renovations of the White House. Stanford White's design for Reids transformed Ophir into a proper castle. The structure had 4 main stories and featured a striking 5-story tower. Along the roofline ran crenellated parapets, those classic castle battlements which gave the mansion a medieval European flair. Inside, Reid Castle was no less spectacular. Visitors stepping through the front door found themselves in a soaring entrance hall clad from floor to ceiling in rare marble, specifically an opulent combination of golden Numidian marble from North Africa and pink Ottawa marble from Georgia. Sunlight filtered through stained glass windows above the grand central staircase, casting colorful patterns on the marble walls and floor. Throughout the mansion, richly carved woodwork, gilded ceilings, and fine art abounded. It was said that one must enter to appreciate its magnificence, as an awestruck reporter wrote in 1897, marveling at the sumptuous furnishings and materials on display. Indeed, Reid Castle was intentionally magnificent, a showplace where the Reids could host gatherings and display their cultural refinements. Even the more practical rooms for day-to-day life were overdone on such a scale with such attention to detail that they became showplaces in and of themselves, with rooms such as the library being a prime example. One of the most dazzling rooms in this time period must have been the conservatory, with a ceiling made completely of leaded stained glass panels to allow the sun to trickle in, casting rainbows across centuries-old tapestries and tropical indoor plants. The estate's landscaping was just as thoughtfully crafted as the house. Whitelaw Reid hired none other than Frederick Law Olmsted, America's preeminent landscape architect, to lay the grounds. Olmsted's plan turned the estate's rolling acres into a picturesque parkland with graceful drives, lawns, and plantings that offered both beauty and privacy. But Olmsted's involvement didn't end with flower beds. He was also keen on the idea of creating a model farm on the property. The concept of a model farm was a popular hobby among wealthy Gilded Age gentlemen, essentially a showcase of modern scientific agriculture, complete with state-of-the-art barns, prize livestock, and well-tended fields, more for prestige than profit. Beyond this, formal gardens were planned to cascade down the hill in a series of gentle terraces, with both walled gardens and formal parterres to suit. Now back to the castle, it did not remain static, as the Reids' needs grew, so did Ophir Hall. In 1905, while Whitelaw Reid was serving overseas as ambassador to Britain, the family undertook another major expansion of the mansion. McKim, Mead & White designed a huge new wing. This addition, completed by 1912, nearly doubled the size of the castle. Whitelaw Reid's life remained as full and eventful as his home. After finishing his term as ambassador to Great Britain, he continued to serve in London until his passing in 1912, likely never seeing the expanded house. Reid's body was brought back to the United States, where he was laid to rest in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in New York, a burial ground famed for holding the remains of numerous wealthy and famous figures of that era, but not after first having one of the largest funerals in New York City that year. With Elizabeth's passing in 1931, the era of the Reids at Ophir Hall effectively came to an end. The estate was inherited by her and Whitelaw's son, Ogden Mills Reid, in that same year. Yet Ogden, busy with running the Herald Tribune and living a more modern lifestyle, showed little interest in moving into the colossal old castle. For roughly 2 decades, the castle sat mostly empty. In 1949, a new Stewart arrived, Manhattanville College of the Sacred Heart. A Catholic women's college, then based in New York City, purchased roughly 250 acres of the Ophir Farm property, including the castle, for a new campus. By 1952, Manhattanville College had relocated to the former Reid estate in Purchase, New York, and the castle began its second life as an academic and administrative building. Remarkably, Reid Castle still stands today, beautifully preserved on what is now the campus of Manhattanville University. The modern campus buildings have sprung up around it, the castle remains the centerpiece. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about Reid Castle? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.